Starting an online business can be a lonely ride, especially when you're trying to change the world one day at a time. But you're home now, in a place where inspiration flows thick and fast, and we arm you with the how-tos to get started, grow, and thrive in business. Welcome to the Wellness Entrepreneur Podcast with business coach and trainer Katie Wyatt. The mission of the show is to simplify online business so you can focus on your mission rather than your marketing, because it doesn't have to be that hard. Let's leverage your time so you can have more impact and amplify your message. You are a change maker. We need you loud and clear. Wellness entrepreneurs. Passion can change the world and make good business.
Welcome to episode 47 of the Wellness Entrepreneur Podcast. Can you dig that it's almost 50 episodes of the show? I'm feeling seriously pumped about 50. I mean, numbers are not the most important thing in business, I know that, but they can tell a story, and 50 episodes of this gorgeous project feels like it's telling a story about love and fun and consistency and learning and inspiration. I hope you agree. And it also marks my journey as a podcaster and a coach. If I listen back to the early episodes, I cringe. I totally cringe. But that is my journey preserved, not quite in stone, but on the interwebs and the airwaves forever, which is really exciting. And it's also exciting because 50 episodes is possibly going to mark the cusp of some big new change in my business, and I cannot wait to share it all here on the podcast. I wanted to today, before we get into the interview, share a totally rad tip with you, something for you to implement in an instant and feel like the boss lady or the boss bloke that you are. On a day-to-day basis, we get a lot of feedback on our business, right? So whether it's an email or a tweet or a shout out on Facebook, if you're doing something right, then I am guessing that every so often someone pays you a compliment online. And aside from enjoying the glow of appreciation, I want you to start a document or an Evernote note that you can call feedback, shout outs, whatever, and start pasting screenshots of those moments into it. So I use Evernote, and I have that little elephant clipperdoodle thing that allows me to just pick that particular thing on my screen and save it to Evernote. And then I go in and I merge, those notes with those screenshots into the one note. And can't even remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I think it's called feedback. And it's all about building a folder of awesomeness. So this isn't just for your own personal ego, although it does work for that. It's so that you've got a grab bag of actual images of people paying you kudos. You could use it on sales pages, in emails, in your social media. There's lots of opportunity. And it's not a formal testimonial, that's true, and I'll talk about those in the next podcast, but it is instinctive, unbidden, and real. And those things need to be saved, babe. Okay, so definitely implement that one and let me know how you go. And if you're loving the chat on the show, make sure that you come and connect in the Facebook group, which is at bit.ly/Start Grow Thrive. We are over 1,200 strong now, and we're a vibing community of wellness entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, radical butt kickers of the boring day job. All are welcome. Come and join. I hope to see you there. And let me know when you join. Let me know that you joined because I invited you here. That would be really cool. And now onto the show. Today I'm talking to someone who you will recognize from the podcast if you've been listening recently, but I'm turning the interrogation light upon her instead of our usual co-hosting shindig Lady Boss chats. Yep, Miss Elle Roberts is stepping up to the microphone and giving you a little more insight into her business journey and philosophies on life. I know that you'll love it the way that I love Elle. So let's get into it.
Yes.
Hello, Elle Roberts. Welcome to the show. It's so good to have you on the podcast as a guest, not just a lady boss chatter.
Hello, Katie Wyatt. Thank you very much. I'm just as excited to be here as if we were doing a lady boss chat, but it'll be something a bit different.
It will be. I hope it will be because it's intended to be. So I really wanted to, because my audience have obviously heard you doing Lady Boss chats with me. So they've heard your opinion on lots of things about business because that's what we do on Lady Boss chats. But I wanted to dig into your business story a little bit because I think it's a really groovy one and there's lots of cool stuff that you can share because you've done so much in your business. So that is why we're here. So tell us a little bit about the Elle Roberts business journey.
It's been an interesting one, that's for sure. Like many lady bosses and other entrepreneurs, it's been a bit of a convoluted, organic kind of growth journey. I started making, actually. I was originally selling handmade products, kids' clothes and quilts and toys and things. And that sort of happened by accident. It was one of those really cliche stories. I was making stuff for my son, and then I was making stuff for friends for birthdays, and then people were asking me to make it for them. And one lady specifically said to me, "Don't just make it for me. I want to pay you for it because I want to give it as a gift to somebody else." And that was the beginning of my self-employed business journey. I didn't stay making for very long, though. I found out very quickly that I was, a creative maker and not a machinist. I didn't enjoy making the same thing over and over again. So that first stage was actually a very quick one. And from there, I started an online retail space because as a maker, the first 12 months I focused mostly on markets and selling in person. And then my son could walk all of a sudden. He was happily playing in the pram at the beginning, and then he could walk. And as a single parent trying to manage markets and things with a toddler just became a no-go zone. So I looked online, and there was Etsy and there was Made It and there was lots of really cool online platforms, but nothing that really provided me with what I needed. So I started an online retail platform, and I had about a dozen sellers. I think I got up to about 20 at one stage, and it was more like a little community of makers online, and we helped support each other. And again, I loved lots of aspects of that business, but retail itself was not actually what I loved about it. So again, it was rather a quick sort of stop along the way. And then from there is where the Artful Business Conference and the business coaching that I do, and I do both of those still now, is sort of that was the next step. Because when I had the retail space, I found much more joy, and I was spending much more of my time working with the sellers in my store to help them improve their product photography or improve their descriptions or send them suggestions of what they should be doing on their Facebook page so that their whole business was growing and not just the part of their business that, was under my banner. And I just loved that, and I really felt a lot of joy and excitement around that sort of work. So the conference and my business coaching business came from there.
Awesome. And so would you call yourself like a born entrepreneur? Because, even just that fact that you were like, there was Etsy and Made It, but it wasn't giving me what I wanted. And so I started something myself. That sounds like someone that just has an entrepreneurial mindset. What do you think?
I definitely think so. I wouldn't have thought so when I started the original business. I certainly didn't start making kids' clothes and quilts thinking that I was sending me down this entrepreneurial journey that I now honestly believe will be the biggest chunk of my life. I may not do it forever, but I suspect that I won't go back to traditional employment for long periods of time. But now that I've had enough time to sort of sink in with all this entrepreneurial stuff, I absolutely think I was a born entrepreneur. I went to a private school, and it was a private school that didn't believe in the concept of tuck shop. And I was lucky enough to live walking distance from the school, and between me and the school was a corner store. And I used to call into the corner store in the morning and spend about $35 on cans of Coke, bottles of Coke, packets of lollies, all sorts of things, and then I would sell them out of my school bag at lunchtime and recess for an extremely inflated price.
Yeah, that definitely makes you a born entrepreneur, my dear.
Yeah, so that was technically my first business, that one there.
Oh, I love it. And so then I know Artful looks quite different today, and we'll talk about that, but when you kind of went from this community of retailers online, and so was Artful the very next thing that you did?
It wasn't the next thing I did publicly. It was the next plan. It was while I had that retail space that I had the idea for Artful, and it was something that I really wanted to do, and I talk about it in detail on my most recent podcast episode. It really was just an idea that I had on the couch one day out of pure frustration, and I was lucky enough to have a conversation with a really supportive friend, and she just said, just go for it. So I did. And then once the wheels were in motion for the conference, I felt like I wanted it to have a bit of a banner to run under, or a bit of authority around it. So I think I'd already had the inclination that I wanted to get into business coaching. I've got business and marketing background, and I had experience in business development and all that sort of stuff in the corporate space. And that's why I was enjoying working with these sellers, because I had all this experience, but I still found it really hard once it was my own stuff to market myself and price myself and all those things. So the business coaching was something that I wanted to do, but I really felt like it was a 5-year plan. I felt like I had to get like some badges of honor before I could call myself a business coach. So I was intending to run the retail space for 5 or 6 years and then move into business coaching. But once the idea for the conference came up, I was like, you know what, that's really the work that I want to be doing, and I think I'm really good at it already. So outwardly, the business coaching came first, and then 6 months later I announced the conference. But actually the conference idea had happened first, and that's what encouraged me to step into the business coaching.
And that is really interesting, because I sort of had a similar experience when I started my first business. And in some ways, in the back of my mind, I think I was thinking, well, if I want to work with wellness entrepreneurs, I need to start my own wellness business first to qualify me for coaching them. And I kind of just put to the side the fact that my whole career had been in business advisory and consulting. I kind of didn't even pay myself credit for that. And so I'm really into, because I don't, where do you sit on this? Because I think a lot of women don't back themselves. They feel like they need another qualification or experience, which is not to say that everyone is qualified to be a business coach. So
absolutely.
Where do you sit on that now?
Yeah, I agree entirely that there's that, you do need to have something backing you up, whether it's, qualifications, experience. It may be in the corporate world, doesn't necessarily have to be in the same industry, but you do need to have something to stand on. Or it may just be, you're really good at it and you've got experience, and you're making proof, like showing proof of what you've got to offer with the clients that you're working with and those sorts of things. But I think that there's that flip side too, that we often, particularly as women, say, well, I'll just get this one more thing and then I'll be good enough. I'll just do this one more training course and then I'll be good enough. I'll just work for this one more client for free and then I'll be good enough. And I think at some point we do need to say, actually, this is the work that I want to do, and it's time to back myself and believe in myself. And that's a really hard step for women to take, I think.
It is. I totally agree.
Because I was the same. I had the experience in my career. I had the, university degrees to back me up. I'd been running my own handmade business for 12 months, so I knew intimately the struggles that people were facing in that space. But still, I was like, but I need to have run my handmade business for 5 years, and then that will qualify me. Then I will feel like I've got that badge of honor that makes me allowed to suggest that I have any advice to offer. And yeah, it was a really interesting self-confidence thing, really, when it came down to it.
Yeah, and I think, it's why I really like, some of the people out there that talk about the fact that to teach somebody, you just have to be a bit further on the path, because it kind of is the thing that empowers people to just kind of step through that, realizing that it's just fear, and to kind of back yourself, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so important. And I think everyone that's in business at all has something to teach, has something to offer. There are people that are 2 steps behind me, potentially in most of their business, but they do their Facebook posts better than me, or they do their Excel spreadsheet budget planning better than me. And I think it doesn't even necessarily matter which stepping stone you're up to on the journey. It just matters which bits are you really good at, and what areas do you have something of value to offer in. I think we've all got something to learn from each other, no matter what level people are at in their journey.
And so what do you think pulled you from making like something that's almost quite separate to you to business coaching? Was it just that noticing that was the part of what you were doing that you really enjoyed, helping others?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. I learnt very quickly that sitting at my sewing machine all day sewing the same pair of shorts was not my thing. It sounded really gorgeous, but I got to the point where every time I got an order through my store, I was like, oh, that means I've got to sew. And I love sewing. I love everything handmade and crafty. I love crocheting and all those sorts of things. And the handmade business for me very quickly took all the love out of any of those activities. It was just not my jam. It was just not fun. And I almost envied people that thrive in that space and really enjoy using their creativity to produce products over and over again for clients. I think that's extremely admirable, and I love that there are so many gorgeous makers out there doing that, but it absolutely was not my jam. And so the combination of how quickly I was losing love for anything sewing, as well as how much it was lighting me up and it was just free advice. Like, these makers were selling through my online space and they were paying their membership fee or their commission or whatever, but it was very minimal. And I was spending hours emailing them back with advice on the last photos they sent me or the product descriptions. And I was like, let's get on the phone and talk about your pricing because I think it's too low and these are the reasons I think it's too low. And I was doing all of that for free and in my own time because it lit me up. It was just beautiful and I loved it. And I loved seeing the change that meant for these makers and that had in their business. And then, it flows onto their life. Like, it changes people's lives. If their business is thriving and they're doing the work that they really love, it's life-changing. And it's, it's affirming of all of those things about ourselves that we think and believe. And it's really powerful stuff. So I just felt so incredibly honoured to be a part of that journey for, these half a dozen makers at the time. And I was like, how can I serve more of these women in this space? And the conference was a big part of that, and the business coaching flowed on from that. Yeah.
And so do you find now that you're coaching, that you're working with those type of makers still, or has it grown from there too?
Yeah, I do work with makers still, and I still love working with makers and artists and writers and people that really identify with themselves as creative people. I love helping creative people find a way to plan and structure and systemize their business that still feels really creative and energizing to them. A lot of creative people are like, don't talk to me about planning and organization and structure, like I am creative and I don't want to know all of those things. So I really love blending that right and left brain stuff and helping creative people find a balance that works for them so that they can plan and budget and structure their business. But that has definitely expanded, and a lot of my clients now are yoga teachers or healers or intuitive readers and things that go beyond making, because they come up against the same struggles. Like, I think really, and that's where Artful has sort of shifted a bit too. I really think that anyone that's entrepreneurial, and even if you don't identify with the word entrepreneur, because I know some people think that that word is sort of 3 steps ahead of where they are too. I think anyone that's running a business, anyone that's like creating work for themselves by doing something that they're truly passionate about, is more creative than they know and much more innovative and creative than they're aware of. But also, even if they don't want to identify with being creative, they come up against the same struggles because they're doing work that matters to their heart. So like this passion-driven focus in people's businesses mean that, pricing is hard because you tie your self-worth and self-value into it. Marketing is hard because you don't want to feel salesy when what you really want to be doing is changing the world. And so makers and healers and yoga teachers and writers all face the same sort of struggles. So it's fun working with a wider range of business types. But, women in business doing stuff that they really love, that they're really passionate about, are definitely the clients that I love working with.
Beautiful. And I know that a lot of the work you do, I mean, we met in a Facebook group, and I know you have a couple of Facebook groups. You also really are my personal branding guru, and I can see that a lot of what you do with your clients is about helping them to get past that, I guess, the self-worth struggles and really showing up online or wherever they need to show up in their business. So can you talk a little bit about that in terms of even just tactically, like how do you get somebody, and a lot of new wellness entrepreneurs I know are like this, where they'll have their qualification, but they, even just the thought of creating a Facebook business page is terrifying because their friends might see it and judge them. So like, what would your advice be for that type of person?
Yeah, it's a struggle, and like it's an ongoing struggle. It's the same as, money blocks or planning for your business. The same shit is still coming up for me. It's just at a different level now. So I don't feel like I've mastered any of that, even though, I do feel like I can show up, particularly online, but anywhere in my business with, a fair amount of honesty and vulnerability now. And I certainly think that personal branding and community building and things have a lot to do with that. But really, as cliche as it is, the number one tip is just do something. Like everybody's got their comfort zone, and it's important to step outside your comfort zone. But beyond that is like this terror zone that is just like, that's not okay. I'm not cool with that. That's so scary and overwhelming. And there's a big gap between those things. Like a lot of people think that they have to get to that terror zone in order to achieve the things that they need to achieve. And I just really encourage you, just see what the next little step is that might be outside your comfort zone, might push you a little bit, but just lets you flex that muscle. You don't need to, if you want to start a website and a Facebook page and be posting selfies on Instagram and start talking about your business all over the world, but you're really terrified because your family and friends might see it and judge you, then just start an Instagram account and just start, just do one thing and see how it goes before you worry about all of the other things on the list. Because it's amazing once you start and connect with the right people and find the tribe of people that do want to support you or support your message and support your work. That will be what helps you move your comfort zone further out, and then you can take another step forward. And so just, baby steps, particularly in the beginning. It has to be small. And if a Facebook business page is too scary because it's connected to your profile and your mum might see it and judge you, then just start a WordPress blog or something and share it in private groups on Facebook that your mum doesn't have access to. Like, there are ways around things.
Poor mum.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to have a mum that loves whatever I do wherever I do it. So I'm very fortunate. But there are, recently I have felt a lot of angst and fear because a lot of my family members are suddenly catching on to this Instagram trend, and there's a lot of my life and my philosophies and my values that I share more readily to my Instagram community, which is public, than I would share on my own Facebook profile, because I know that some members of my family might judge that and think differently about that. So it's a real struggle for everybody. I'm still sort of, my uncle, for example, started following me on Instagram recently, and it's like, oh gosh, is that going to change what I feel comfortable sharing in this space now? And
I have that too. I've got family following me and liking all of my Facebook business page posts, and sometimes I just think, oh my goodness, they just must think I'm two different people sometimes, because I'm kind of sharing things that are really on brand that I would probably never share on my personal page.
Yeah. But that's we all have that, and I just I have been on the journey long enough that my uncle following me on Instagram is not going to affect how I share and how I show up there. But 2 years ago it might have, and so I just really encourage people to find where it is you do feel safe, and start there. Like if you're in private Facebook groups, Katie, you've got a gorgeous one for wellness entrepreneurs. Connect into that group and just start talking about your business there before you do anything out in the wide world, if that's what pushes you outside your comfort zone without going so far that it, freezes you in inaction.
Yeah, that's gorgeous advice. Definitely. I think Facebook groups, the right Facebook groups, can be the most supportive place on the internet sometimes.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely the place to start for new people that feel alone. So there's obviously a real theme to all of the things you've done in your solopreneurship journey, or entrepreneurship, I should say, because you do it with a team around you for things like Artful. But the theme it's really about that community and wanting to put the community first and bring those people together. Tell me about that. Like, what do you approach community building with strategy, or do you look back at what you've done and realise there was a strategy and you weren't even aware of it?
Yeah, I approach community building purely from a mental health perspective. When I first sort of found the online world, blogging, Twitter, Facebook, all those sorts of things, 7 years ago now, I can say that because my son just had his 7th birthday, and it was when he was a small baby. Finding those people it made me cry. There were many nights I was sitting on Twitter having conversations just on the verge of tears, because I'm not crazy. There are other people out there that want to have this life and this business, and that see the world the same way that I see the world. And it was just so inspiring, and even more than inspiring, it was just such a relief. It just was so reassuring that, I'm not completely nut job crazy because I want to do things a little bit differently than the status quo. And so my Facebook groups that I lean into, they're as much for me as they are for the community. It's not an altruistic sort of thing. It's like, I need that. I need to be able to connect with people that have the same values and want to have the same discussions. I need a place I can go and talk to a group of women about what it means to take a selfie for your business, and not have people rip that down because their idea of selfies is narcissistic pre-teens. Like, it's so important to me to have people around me that I can connect with. Connection is so valuable, and I am, very extroverted. I certainly get filled up completely by being around other people and having meaningful conversations with people that, share my values in many different ways. And so I'm just really grateful that I have so many spaces I can do that. Both ones that I facilitate and ones that I can be a participant in that other people facilitate. It's just really important to me. But over the years, I've learned how important that has also been for my brand and for my business, and how to make those two marry up without feeling yucky about it.
Yeah. And so let's talk about Artful Business Conference, because it is quite a distinct brand from Elle Roberts, even though the two are, totally aligned. How do you find running two brands in parallel?
Sometimes it's really challenging, and I'm still not sure that I've hit the sweet spot in terms of how I do that. I have made a lot of mistakes along the way in doing that. One of the things is, like, I want Artful to have its own brand. I don't want it to be the Elle Roberts business conference. Like, I want it to have its own brand, and I want it to be about the community. I also wanted to build that into something that someone else could take over at some point if it got bigger than me, or if it got beyond me, or if I wanted to move on to the next project. Artful, I wanted it to be something that could be packaged up and handed over. And Elle Roberts, obviously, I don't want the same thing for that. Elle Roberts, the brand, will morph and change with the work that I want to do, rather than sell it off and then start again. So it was very important to me that it was its own brand for a number of different reasons. But I think for a number of years I tried too hard to make that a brand. And, it's interesting. I talk to clients all the time about how important it is to show the person behind the brand and talk about the story behind the business. And I felt very comfortable doing that with Elle Roberts, but I never did that with Artful. Last year was really only the first time that I stood out the front and said, I created this thing, this is my conference, and it's for you, and it's about the community, but I built it out of my vision and from, this idea that I had. And by the way, I really like coffee, and my favorite color is yellow. Like, I really hadn't done that at all with Artful. And once I started doing that, like even recently, sharing photos of myself working on things, those selfies that I talk about so much in my own business, I still had shied away from doing that under the Artful brand. And yet when I do it, when I share it, funnily enough, the things that I tell people all the time have come true for that as well. People really resonate with that, and they connect with that. And then they go, oh, it's not just some big corporate thing that pretends to be for us little people. It's one of us doing something for us as well. And people have really connected with it on a different level. So
isn't it funny? Because you sort of, I guess that word conference sounds big and scary, and like there's a whole team of 50 people behind it putting it on. And that, I guess in some ways that's kind of what you wanted to suggest when it started, absolutely. Because you wanted people to have faith that this was a real, reliable pro event. But isn't it funny that to take it to the next level, you've got to get back to connecting with the individuals behind something?
Yeah, and that's absolutely, like, even in previous years, the feedback has been, like, the brand, the name has stayed the same, but the imagery and the branding has changed quite drastically each year for the first 3 or 4 years. And last year was the first time I really felt like I nailed down what I needed it to look like. And the feedback from the website in previous years had been like, well, the website was too professional. Like, we thought it was this really rigid business thing run by a bunch of corporates, and they just called it Artful so that we'd buy a ticket. Like, it was really fascinating that, like you said, I deliberately wanted it to feel like it was more than just a one-man show, because I knew that I could deliver on quality at the actual event, but I needed the audience to believe that too. And I needed to, well, I felt like I needed to really capitalize on that trust factor coming from this really professional, like high class, high standard, look like I've got a whole bunch of money behind me so that people believe in what I'm offering. And yeah, it that didn't work for the people that I was trying to connect with, because they're like, well, but we didn't trust that because it was too professional and it did look like there was, lots of big money behind it, and that actually wasn't appealing. You just got to be real and tell your story.
Love it. And so I want to talk about events, live events a bit, because Artful, obviously it's run virtually and face to face, but particularly the face to face thing, because I think there are a lot of people out there that have a vision for running live events, and I know in the couple that we've done together, like they're quite hard work to organise and get the bums on seats, whether it's 180 people or 10 people. So tell me, like, for you, what works for people that are thinking about running events? Should they run screaming, or like where should they start?
Again, I run events as much for myself as I do for the audience. It's so, like, I so love the connection and being real and face to face with people. I learn so much about my own business and my own skills, and it builds my confidence immensely when I get to run live workshops and have that instant feedback. And I know that it improves my skills getting that instant feedback as well, because it's not always super positive. I love that interaction with people, and it's just like friends. Like, you can make friends with people in a Facebook group and really connect with them and share and get on and become best friends. Like you and I did. We connected online and we really leaned into that friendship quite quickly, but nothing cements that like sharing a coffee and having a hug. And, instantly then that online connection is so much stronger because you have seen each other in person, and you're not just two-dimensional, you're real. And so if events are something that you want to build into your business, I really encourage you to do it, because I've certainly loved it. It's been one of my favorite parts of my business. But they are hard work. I think it's important. People often think that it's like a quick cash flow thing. Like, people often want to do events because, I'll fill a workshop and they'll all pay me $100, and there's, $1,200 in my business that I wouldn't have otherwise. And it's not that simple. Events are really hard work, and it doesn't matter if it's, like you said, a conference for 180 people or a workshop for 12 people. You've really got to work hard, not just the planning, because it depends on the scale. The planning can be a challenge in itself. The expense, obviously, you've got to hire a room. I've often got to travel to go to events because I'm up in regional North Queensland. If I want to run really successful events, it's head to Melbourne, head to Brisbane, and so they can be quite expensive. But also the marketing of events is a lot harder than people generally give it credit for. It's a big commitment for people to come along to a live event. You've got to take them out of their business for a day or half a day. They've got to travel, whether it's to Sydney from regional New South Wales or whether it's just across town. Entrepreneurs get spoilt in that we get up and we walk into the spare bedroom, or we walk to the dining room table to do our work every day. So it's a big ask to then ask people to step up and come to live events. I just think if you're going to do it, that's great, but just give it the credit that it's really worth. Own it as a big thing. It's a big undertaking, even if it is a workshop for 10 people. So usually if you want to run an event, give it more lead time than you think you need just for managing the planning and getting yourself organised, and then give it a lot more lead time than you think you're going to need in terms of marketing and talking about it. You absolutely have to talk about events till you're blue in the face to get bums on seats.
Yeah, awesome. And so then on that, what you were talking about of the challenges, because we're all spoiled with this ability to talk to people all over the world from a room in our house and a laptop, or a cafe and a laptop. So, and I'm a bit like that. Like, I'm I'm half extrovert, half introvert, which is very confusing. But I love the idea of going to events, but then I'm a little bit lazy, or I live in Melbourne, so sometimes it's cold, and I'll kind of go, oh, it would probably be easier to stay home because I'm a little bit scared of going because I don't know anyone anyway. But I do know that every time I do go to live events, when they're good, there's a lot of really bad events out there, and I've been to many of them. But when they're good, like Artful Business Conference, they do have an impact on your life and your heart and your brain and all of those things that online stuff just doesn't do. So, I'd love to hear your, like, what would you say to a client who about going to live networking events?
Oh, do it. Like there's nothing better. It's a beautiful, amazing thing. I mean, and I go to live events that aren't perfect, but they still get me out of the office. They get me having conversations that I wouldn't be having with, even online with Facebook groups and these beautiful communities that we're all connected to. I think sometimes they all get a bit incestual, for want of a better word. We have the same conversations with the same people, and it's exciting, and I love it. And I don't mean any negative comment towards that, but I think going to live events, particularly ones that might not be perfect for where you're at in your business or perfect for your niche, can really expand you in exciting ways, because I'm suddenly having a conversation about my business with someone who's, super high up in a corporate job, and she's intrigued by the fact that I work in my house clothes, and you get to have new conversations, and that really inspires me and sparks, that creativity that I was talking about at the beginning, that a lot of us don't really think of ourselves as creative beings. But we do need to, ignite that sometimes, that inspiration and that ideas, and events are a great way to do that. I mean, those events that we ran, Katie, in Melbourne and Sydney, they were the same event, they were the same content. It was a lady boss workshop day for women who want to build their business. We talked about the same topics, but because Melbourne had a room of 12 women that were these 12 women, and then Sydney had a room that was, a lower number and 5 or 6 different women, the conversations were so wildly different. The whole day was a completely different experience. And that for me is the excitement of live events. It was just like, I love that you just never quite know what you're going to get. You're always going to get new conversations and new inspiration out of it, because it's, you're interacting with a different group of people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just remembering our Lady Boss workshops. They're so much fun. We need to totally do those again.
They were lots of fun. And, we got lots of business inspiration, but I think just as human beings, we really crave that connection, and this online space sometimes deprives us of that. And that's why community building and tribe building is so important, and it's become such an integral part of my business. The same way people talk about it takes a village to raise a family, I really believe in this village concept of running a business. I don't want to be successful in my business if it means me sitting in my office on my own all the time. I love that I work on my own, and I love that I work to my own rules and my own hours and all of those things, but I don't want to be lonely doing that. I love this village environment. We can hang out in Facebook groups, we can go to live events, we can connect to other people. A lot of my business friends are in the wellness space, and I don't think of myself as being in that space. I don't even think that my fridge would agree with me being in the wellness space. But I get so inspired by the work that women are doing there and the conversations that they want to have about their business, that I then get to have conversations about wellness and things that I would never otherwise have. And I just love this learning from each other and teaching each other village idea around running our solo businesses.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what I love about you and about your business. Well, there's lots of things I love about you, but that I love about your business model is it's such an extension of you. Like you've almost, well, you have everything you've started and done has been something that you would have wanted for yourself, which I think means gives you a really intimate connection to your target market. And, means that you don't just build things, you build things for yourself as well as for others. So in that vein, I'd love to hear, like, for somebody that's thinking, this Artful Business Conference, should I go? Is it for me? There's so many other things available. What would you say? Like, who is it for and who should definitely come along?
Cool. It's for, I want to say women. It doesn't have to be for women. It's never been just for women. Men are welcome, but they certainly need to be men that are comfortable with a room mostly full of women. It's this connected, often female-driven entrepreneur that is the ideal attendee at the Artful Business Conference. In 2012, when it started, it was very designed and pitched at makers and people creating physical products, because that's who I was working with and that was the industry I understood. Similarly, with my coaching stuff, I've learnt through Artful and working with so many clients over the last 6 years that wellness entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, writers, all of those people I was talking about at the beginning are coming up against the same issues. They want to change the world. They're really passionate about the work that they do, but they stick their head in the sand about their money, and so they're not making any money. Or they're doing okay money-wise, but they don't understand the concept of business planning, and they don't want to because they just want to show up and do beautiful things in the world. And those are the types of people that Artful Business Conference is built for and designed for, and I think is an incredible opportunity for. We talk about all the business stuff, but we talk about it in a way that then, that feels really expansive and is just about allowing these people, whether they're making or whether they're offering a service, whatever it is that they want to be doing in the world, we talk about the money and the planning and all the strategy stuff in a way that just allows them to do more of that work that they're really excited about. Make money so that you can go out in the world and do more of that work that you're really passionate about. I know that the people that come to Artful aren't in it to make money for the sake of making money, but it's really important to me that they do make money so that they have more space to do this beautiful work. And nobody needs to be, on the poverty line to do good things in the world. It's so much easier to be creative and inspiring and expansive in your business if it's financially sustainable and looking after you and looking after your family at the same time. So Artful's a really beautiful blend of inspiring, aspirational stories of other people that are making it work and that are doing amazing things in whatever space that is. It might be, art, creative space, it might be wellness space, it might be business coaching. I like to share stories of people that are doing really amazing things and inspire the audience. But for me, it's really important that then that's coupled up with really practical, actionable business advice. So the second day is all workshops. It's all get your hands a bit dirty, get your notebooks out. Let's look at your business, ask lots of questions. It's really interactive so that people walk away with not only this beautiful connection, inspired new tribe that they can be a part of and feel like they're really supported, but they've also got a list of actions to go and take and make changes in their business that will have a big impact.
Beautiful. And I've talked a lot on the podcast about the fact that I went last year and I'm an affiliate and speaker this year. And so I echo everything you say because it is an amazing event. And I have some really good friendships now with people that I had connected with online, but if I hadn't connected with them in live at that event, I think, I know that those friendships wouldn't be at the level that they are now. So for people that would like to know more and have a look at the website and the tickets and all of that, where should they go?
Well, I think you should share your affiliate link, Katie, because your affiliate bonuses are amazing.
Well, I will, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head, Elle.
I see.
So I will include that in the show notes, and I'll talk maybe in the outro of the pod about my particular bonus. But for those that, don't resonate with my bonus and just want to go straight to the heart of Artful, where's that?
So the website is artfulbizcon.com. So it's artful and then bizcon.com. And yeah, you can check it out. And all the details are there. I'm also happy to answer any questions. I know this idea of a creative business conference that's appropriate to a yoga teacher sort of thing isn't super clear for people. So if anyone's got any questions, I really encourage them to send me an email at elle@elleroberts.me, and I'm happy to answer any questions or jump on Skype and talk to people, because as I said, I'm happy for this event to be as connected as humanly possible. So don't be shy.
Awesome. And, I would say that too. If anyone wants to ask me about, the experience of going as a participant, then please sing out and let me know. Happy to answer questions as well. But I do think it's awesome. It's on at the end of May, on the last weekend of May in Melbourne and online. If you're listening to this episode and that date has passed, then you may have missed out, but it'll be on again next year.
It is, and even if you're not available on those days, or you're not available for the whole 2 days, the whole thing is recorded, and this year all of our ticket holders get lifetime access to the recordings, so you can go back and watch the sessions that you missed, or re-watch the sessions that really inspired you.
Which is super cool, given the workshop day you choose between workshops. And I can remember after last year's conference in the Facebook group, people were like, I need to watch this workshop because I'm having FOMO because everyone raved about it. And I was in this other awesome workshop, so I need to watch it. So yeah. That is that's so cool. So thank you, Miss Elle. It was so good having you on the Wellness Entrepreneur HQ. Loved having you, and good luck with Artful.
Thank you so much. It's been fun being interviewed by Katie Wyatt.
Oh, you're famous now.
I've made it. Awesome. Oh. Thank you so much, Katie. It's been beautiful.
Thanks, Elle.
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. Beautiful peeps. Elle did ask for my affiliate link to the Artful Business Conference, and I couldn't remember it then, and it's not the most memorable link. So what I've done is I've popped it into the show notes, which you can get at thewellnessentrepreneur.com.au/47, the episode number. Or you can, another really probably easier way is to just go to my Facebook business page, and the pinned post at the top explains my affiliate bonuses. There's 3 gorgeous bonuses, and has the link if you would like to purchase a ticket and be one of my special crew. I'm also running a little competition. So one of my affiliate ladies, or blokes, the conference is for blokes too, although it's mostly women. One of them will win a spot on the podcast right here, a full interview for you to share your business story, what inspires you, and be profiled on the pod. Your chances are really good too. So I'm aiming, I reckon, for around 5 to 10 affiliates, which means your odds of starring on the show are close to awesome. Have an amazing week. Happy Mother's Day retrospectively to all the mums out there, or to all the Australian mums, because I think Mother's Day is on a different day in other countries. But hey, happy Mother's Day to you too.